Hello, everyone. Welcome to SHEroes-Leading the Way. Wish you all a very happy International Women's Day, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Neha Khandelwal. I am the founder of Indian Women's Circle and will be your host for this event. This is the first time we as Indian Women's Circle are celebrating International Women's Day, and we thought how inspiring it would be to bring together and hear directly from the women leaders who have forged their own path to success, raised the bar high in their fields, risen above all challenges, and have even empowered other women along the way. So, if you're looking for true inspiration, authentic conversations, and life earned wisdom, I promise your time will be well spent today. During our event, you will see some moving banners at the bottom of the screen with some questions for you all, which you can answer via the comments. Also, you can post your questions for our panelists in the comment section, which you will see on your device, whether it's a mobile phone or laptop. So without further delay, let us welcome our esteemed guests. Looks, oh, it is my, oh, there we go. It is my honor to welcome our first hero, our first panelist, Honorable MPP Meena Tangri. Meena, welcome to our event. It is such an honor and privilege to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Neha, for inviting us today. It's really a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our audience. Meena Tangri is the Member of Provincial Parliament for Mississauga Streetsville and Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. She has served as Vice Chair on Board of Directors at the Credit Valley Hospital in Mississauga and was a Cabinet Member of Erin Oak Kids, Ontario's largest treatment centre for children living with disabilities. She has received numerous accolades, including the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award for her tireless work across GTA. Professionally, Meena is an entrepreneur and a small business owner with over 30 years of experience in financial management. Until her election as an MPP, she was the CEO of Tangri Insurance and Financial Group and President of Tangri BMT Insurance Brokers. As an MPP today, her portfolio focuses on economic development and investment attraction in Ontario with a focus on life sciences and medical technology sector. She has also served as chair of the Standing Committee on Social Policy, mandated with studying and reviewing policy related to healthcare, education, and social services. It is truly an honor to have you with us on this special occasion. And now, let us welcome our next hero, Meera Rao, Vice President, Enterprise Architecture, Royal Bank of Canada. Meera, welcome to our event. It is an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you, Neha, for your very gracious welcome. I'm very proud to be among very esteemed panelists, and I'm excited for the conversation today.
Thank you, Meera. Again, I'll take the opportunity to introduce you to our audience. Meera has the overall responsibility for setting the enterprise strategy and vision for RBC's technology architecture landscape. She creates clear governance around architecture practices and talent by evolving and enhancing RBC's existing enterprise architecture governance frameworks and acts as a key advisor to the operating committee around architecture decisions in support of the bigger strategy. Meera joined RBC from MUFG Mitsubishi UFG Financial Group, where she held the position of MD Chief Enterprise Architect. Prior to that, Meera served as the Senior VP of Architecture Executive at the Bank of America. She holds a Bachelor of Computer Engineering from University of Pune, India, earned her Master's in Computer Science from University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and an MBA from Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. I'm personally fortunate enough to know Meera as I also work in RBC. Meera is a big women's advocate, a great mentor, and a wonderful person. Welcome again, Meera. Such an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you, Neha.
And now let us welcome our next hero, our third panelist, Sumita Kohli. Sumita, welcome to our event. It is such an honor to have you with us. Sumita is the chairperson of Panorama India, a non-profit umbrella organization established in 1999 with the support from Consulate General of India, Toronto, to help unite various Indian cultural associations and groups. Sumita has over 20 years experience in strategy, marketing, and events management, spanning across several industries. She has worked in companies such as Ingram Micro, Rogers Communications, BlackBerry, and several others. For the last 6+ years, Sumita has owned and managed her independent consultant company named Global Marketing. Global Marketing serves clients across North America, Europe, and Asia. Sumita has worked with several nonprofit organizations in the community and most proudly actively serves on the board of Panorama India as the chair. In addition, Sumita also serves as a director to the Board of Governance for Ontario Tourism Marketing Partnership Corporation, also known as Destination Ontario. Sumita, welcome again. Such an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you, Neha. It's a pleasure to be here. And of course, I know MPP Neena Tangri, and I've watched her for many, many, many years. And I'm proud to be here on this panel. And Meera, I'm looking forward to learning so much more about you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So before we deep dive into our panel discussion, I would like to take this opportunity to share a little bit about Indian Women's Circle with all of you. Indian Women's Circle is one of its kind group, a close-knit and trusted community of Indian women in Greater Toronto area. 5 years ago, I was on my mat leave with my first son, new to Mississauga and no family in Canada. I'm sure many of our audience will relate to this scenario. I was overwhelmed with all the aspects of being a first-time mom, being in a new area, and was longing for women-to-women connection and friends. I desperately wanted to have my girlfriends by my side with whom I could just hang out, share my thoughts, ask for some advice, but above all, connect in person and retain my sanity. And that's when our group was formed to support mothers initially and to provide a platform where moms could meet in person. And it was named Indian Mommies Mississauga and Toronto. I still remember we did our first meetup with 4 of us meeting in Starbucks in Square One, Mississauga. Oh, and we 4 are still connected. I call this group my second child and my actual second child my third, but of course he doesn't know that yet, so I'm saved. But over the couple of years, the conversations were way beyond just motherhood. Women were looking for information like finding home in a new place, settling in a new city, promoting their business, various references, socialization, restarting their career, and many, many more. And then we changed the name to call it Indian Women's Circle to make it more inclusive of women in different stages of life. Over 5 years, I'm proud to say that we have grown from 4 women to 3,000 plus women, organized 50 plus meetups, both in person and virtual, 3 large social gatherings, 3 career mentorship events, partnered with global organization called Maternal Mental Health to spread awareness for postpartum depression, and most recently launched our website, which is a digitally advanced business directory for Indian women entrepreneurs and small business owners to promote and market their business to the entire Canadian community. Indian Women's Circle, in true sense, is a community where all the women in the group, and I really mean it literally, all the women in the group have come together and come forward in their own ways to support, inspire, and empower each other, and to make it truly a circle of friends and a family away from family. On this occasion of International Women's Day, I would like to say thanks and congratulate each and every member for making our group what it is today, and show what magic women can do when they come together. You all are truly heroes. And with that, I'd like to give you a quick glimpse of our journey over 5 years. brought a smile to your faces. And now I have a big surprise for our panelists as well for our audience. I would like to play a very special message sent for Indian Women's Circle by a very special person, our Honorable Consul General of India in Toronto, Mrs. Apurva Shrivastava.
Namaskar, I'm Apurva Shrivastava, Consul General of India in Toronto. I'm delighted to wish all you wonderful women of India Women's Circle a very happy Women's Day. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you on your extraordinary journeys. I know many of you have come from India, started from scratch, and now are running a business, holding professional positions, raising up your kids, just with your grit, determination, and perseverance. Today, we are here to celebrate all these achievements, but these celebrations should not be limited to one day. Every day is a day for women, and we should celebrate ourselves throughout the year, just by trying to improve little every day, by supporting and encouraging each other, and by being ambitious, fierce, and flawed. Let us celebrate women's achievements. Let us all endeavor to create a world together where all women can be the best versions of themselves, where there is no glass ceilings to shatter and no glass slippers to fit in. Once again, wish you all a very happy Women's Day.
Thank you so much, Honorable Consul General, for sending us such positivity and an inspiring message. It really means a lot to us. And now, let's start with our panel discussion. And without further delay, I would like to invite Nina and ask her. Nina, we have more than 900,000 Indian immigrants in Canada, and approximately 30,000 Indians come to Canada every year. It is absolutely amazing to see a woman in a position like yours and doing such amazing work in the field of economic development and life sciences and leading so many community organizations. Please share with us what motivated you to join the government. How did you make your way up to the top? We would love to hear about your personal journey, the struggles, successes, and the learning. So over to you, Nina.
Oh, thank you so much, Neha. And it is great to be here with such just an esteemed panel group. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing, bringing women together. It's when I first came to Canada, which was 1984, I only knew my husband. I really knew nobody else. I hadn't even met members of his family. So it was really a struggle for me. And I know I certainly could have used a group like you have put together here for some support and just to help me get around and understand Canada and the system and how it was. So thank you for the great work you're doing, the initiative that you've taken here to bring people together. So like I said, I came to Canada in 1984. I was born and raised in the UK. My parents actually moved from India in the 50s. So when I came here, and it was a big decision I had to make, whether I go back to university or go into the working world. So, you know, wanting to purchase our own home, and, you know, back then it was, you had to work. So I chose to start working in a very low paid job. But, you know, the one thing I was very fortunate about was that I didn't really have to struggle to find a job. Everywhere I pretty much went to apply, I was able to get the job, and I just kept working hard and working hard. I even worked 2 jobs, 2.5 jobs, because I worked a full-time job. I did overtime, and then I went to a part-time job just to keep saving money to buy our first home. And I continued even after we moved in. But, you know, hard work is something I learned from my mother. So my biggest mentor, she was a single mom for the most part, because my father passed away when I was only 8 years old. So she raised 6 children by herself. So seeing how hard she worked, I guess that some of it paid off, and I learned so much from her. She really was my biggest mentor. So when it came to, you know, understanding, I have 3 children, and in 1994, 1995, I was really getting frustrated with the government at the time. And, you know, I worked so hard and, you know, trying to raise my children, run businesses, and paying a lot of taxes. And I kept seeing so much waste in government. And I just was getting frustrated. And you know, we talked to other people, and they said, well, why don't you get involved? Why don't you actually make some changes from the inside? And so I did a little bit of homework, and I looked at what all the different political parties stand for. And, you know, I found that my belief was you have to be fiscally responsible. So you have to understand that you only have so much money and you have to spend it wisely. But I also understand that a lot of people do fall through the cracks and need help. So you also have to be socially responsible. So that's how I became a progressive conservative. And I joined the Riding Association. I started getting involved and volunteering and working on campaigns. And then in 1995, when the PCs came to government in Ontario, I got more involved and started visiting and going to the conventions, met the Premier of the time, Mike Harris, found that he was very approachable. In Mississauga, we had 5 ministers at the time as well. So, you know, every riding pretty much had a minister. And so I got to know them, the work that they did, helped them, and understood what it took to make change. And it was a really fantastic learning experience. And then I was encouraged to run, to run for federal parliament at that time. So I did, and unfortunately it wasn't successful. And those who know me, I've run numerous times. But this time in 2018 in June, I was successful as the member of provincial parliament right here in Mississauga-Streetsville, where I live and where Sumita lives as well. So it's been quite a journey to get to this point. Worked very, very hard. And I think the one thing that a lot of people appreciate or may not appreciate is that the perseverance that was involved, that I stuck it out and I kept working. I was very loyal to the party and to our government, and making sure that I wanted to make that change from within. So, you know, fast forward to today, and throughout the time I've been in government for 2.5 years now, we've made magnificent changes in the way things are run in government. We've got rid of so much waste. We've made it easier to do business. We've cut taxes. It's, you know, put more money in people's pockets. If we put more money in people's pockets, they have more money to spend or to save, or to, you know, we know that will stimulate the economy even more. And throughout the work that I've done in my riding especially, so I have a specific area called Pill Hill. So we have lots of pharmaceutical and medical technology companies here. So I did a lot of work with them from day one. I had no idea I had these industries in my riding. They approached me and I got to learn about the industry. And so I started working with them, where one company was looking to expand and grow, and 500 jobs were at stake. And so I talked to them, and they said, well, we're in competition with a state in the United States and Ireland, and Mississauga was the 3rd location. So I said, well, why don't you come, and I talked to the Premier, and I said, why don't you come and meet the Premier? Let's have some discussions on what we can do. And we were really in an odd spot, because in the United States, they were offering massive incentives. In Ireland, they were giving them 12 million euros. And in Mississauga, you know, corporate welfare was not something we were really looking to do. But we know that it's a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and it's a great place for them to have a business. And we've got fantastic talent coming out of our universities and colleges. So, you know, that was something that we were able to push forward. And then we brought them in, and the head of human resources came in from Switzerland, and I took him and met with the Premier, and we had a fantastic discussion for about an hour. And in my discussions with them, I quickly was able to eliminate the United States as a position. But I knew, because this person himself was Irish, I really thought we had absolutely no chance. But, you know, after a couple of months after that meeting and ongoing talks, we actually won. And so now we've had an announcement. Those 500 jobs will be coming to Mississauga here, which is great for our students in university and colleges and people that work in the life sciences industry. And that's just one of many stories. So like I said, we have numerous. We have GlaxoSmithKline, now called Bora Pharmaceuticals. We have AstraZeneca here in Mississauga. You've heard a lot about them in there, and now the vaccine. And working with a lot of the companies as well that are producing vaccines, who are doing clinical trials, who are at different stages of trying to help us with COVID-19. Throughout COVID, we also had a company that's actually now is just outside my riding, called Medtronic, and they make ventilators. So what they did, which was fantastic, they met with a company here. That company retooled and made ventilators with the IP given from Medtronic, so that we could make sure we had enough ventilators. Now, that's only one company that was doing it across the country. So right now we have an abundance of ventilators, which, if we don't need them, we don't need them, which is great. But if we do, they're ready. So asking the whole community to retool at the beginning of COVID to be able to, keep our constituents safe was critical. And, working through COVID, it's been challenging for everyone, especially businesses. And we have business people here. Those of you at RBC have probably not seen a desk in your office for a very long time, working from home. It's been very challenging for everyone. Like, I'm here in my office today, and I've been going to Queen's Park. And it's essential workers. I have to thank our frontline healthcare heroes, our grocery store clerks, our truckers, making sure that they get our products to table. It has been extremely challenging for everyone. So I really appreciate all the work that everyone has been doing. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We are seeing the vaccination come in now, and it's starting to ramp itself out and get into the community. And I'm really optimistic right now that we'll see a lot happening. But also, we're getting to where I am today. So with the Premier recognizing the work that I did help creating jobs, he then last year, a year and a half ago now, made me the Parliamentary Assistant to Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. And the work that we've been doing there it's just been fantastic. We've had we had one mission to India. We had a trade mission to India, but we've done a number of virtual trade missions. We've been able to get lots of foreign direct investments. I have another one coming up in a few days. And it's just the work that we've been doing. COVID came, but business didn't stop. The economy has to continue. And the work that we've been doing in our ministry has been critical to make sure that our economy stays afloat. As we get more and more people vaccinated, we know that our economy will ramp up. The unfortunate part, of course, is many businesses have suffered so significantly they may never reopen. So that is something we're going to really have to help support those businesses to make sure that we can, first we have to try and keep everybody afloat so that when we do open our economy, everyone's ready to go. But I'll stop there, and I look forward to everyone's questions today, and of course to listening to the other panelists. So thank you again, Neha.
Thank you, Nina. I do have one question that I really want to ask you before you actually go. You mentioned that you ran multiple times for this. What kept you going? What was that one thing that you hold on to, and that was making sure that you have to keep fighting till the time you get it? What was it? We would love to know that.
So I think two things. One of it was the wonderful people around me, my family, my friends, and Sumita is one of those who just said, no, we know you can make that change. We know you're going to make a difference. We need you. We need you there. We need you to be our voice. So that was the main thing that really kept me going. And I couldn't have done it without those people behind me, because it's very disheartening when you come to election night. You've done everything right, your policies are great, but unfortunately people felt that they needed to vote for the other party. So it was very disheartening at the time, but I stayed involved in between. It wasn't just election time. In between, putting policy together, understanding how government works, making sure that I stayed involved was critical. So I think it's just the main support that I received from the community that was really the reason that I just kept going.
Thank you so much. This is really, really inspirational, and I'm so proud that we are having a chance to talk to you, because these are the stories we don't get to hear in general. So really, really motivating, and I'm sure everybody who's listening is also getting charged up hearing you today. So thank you again.
Thank you, Neha.
Moving on, I would like to ask Meera. Meera, you play a senior leadership role in one of the largest banks in Canada and have been in many organizations across the world, and in an area of core technology architecture where we generally don't see many women leaders. Please share with us, how did you get into the space, considering this area is still mainly male-dominated? How hard it was for you as a woman to make your voice heard, and how did you make your way through?
Okay. First, Nina, very, very inspiring story. I love the activism and all the the grit and resilience you've shown. It's really inspiring. And Neha, I have to first say I'm so impressed by your activism as well, this forum that you've created and the membership that you've improved. I'm so happy that there is forums like these where Indian women can participate and learn from each other. And I hope I can share a tidbit or two of my life and my journey to this point. I think I think resilience and grit are two very, very inherent capabilities in women, and we don't recognize it, and we don't know how much we can actually leverage it and make us successful. And I think I got those, a couple of those. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm extremely resilient or have a lot of grit, but I can definitely say that my parents were the inspiration. They were very successful. My father was the CEO of a shipping company. My mother was a doctor, but they had very simple living and high lofty principles of integrity and others, and work ethic. And I think I sort of, without realizing, incorporated that into my life. So growing up, I was a very, uh, very extroverted person. Ran around, did lots of extracurricular activities. I don't think I studied much at school. I used to get scared after my tests with all the results to go back home. But my parents weren't, they didn't instill a sense of fear. They just encouraged us to do better the next time. But I think all those early extracurricular activities I did, etc., have actually served me very well as in my career. So so when it came time to picking a career, my sister, she was older, so she decided to become a doctor. So then I said, I don't want to follow we were always at odds with each other. So I said, I don't want to follow the same thing. I'm going to do engineering. Like I knew anything about it. I had no idea what it was. And I said, okay, I'm going to do engineering. And I started. And, just terrified that I would fail. I probably got through my engineering courses. And then I was also very fond of Western music and movies. And so I had America on my mind. I thought it was all about, having fun, New York and Los Angeles, very glamorous. So I decided to do my master's in the US. And luckily, my mother, they were all very career focused. So they allowed me to, come to the US to study. A lot of my friends were were being asked to marry and things like that. But thankfully, I had parents who said, go off and have an adventure. I lost my father actually when I was very young. He was 15, but my mother, let us explore and have adventures and really, find the potential in us. That was the best investment she made in me. And I came here to the US, and that's where I got my master's, and went on to, join companies like IBM, Bank of America, Mitsubishi, others, where I really sort of honed in on my career. At that point, what I think really led me to, increasing amount of success. And it was a long journey. It wasn't easy. I didn't have the mentors and I didn't have the, I had to learn pretty much everything by myself. And it was a tough journey. But what I did was, rather than focus on my, on career promotions and titles and this and that, I just worked as hard as possible. I think it was rooted in a sense of a little bit of ego and pride that I wanted to be good. I didn't want to be known as someone who is not, proficient in their work. So I always put in the extra effort that it took, whatever it took, etc. And that sort of led me from one area of technology to the other area of technology. And when I made those moves, it wasn't because, it wasn't that I applied or anything. It was by referral that I got from one position to the other. And the reason those, I'd like to share that with you. The reason those came was because, I had a positive attitude. I was unafraid. I had to put my ego on the side and be corrected, to be told what was right, what was wrong, what was better to do, and constantly learn. And also do whatever it took as a team player to help my colleagues and make the connections and seek each other's help and support them. I used to sit sometimes with my colleague, while she was working late at night. I would sit with her so that we could drive, go back together. These kind of, just a sense of a work ethic that was very important in making success, right? And as I moved from, let's say, from software development to data to security to other areas of technology, I made those moves, and those moves allowed me to get to my position, which is enterprise architecture, which involves overseeing the connections between all those kinds of technologies. So that was a very so my 20s and 30s were pretty much for was lots of hard work. And then in my 40s, I decided to do my MBA. And I'd like to share a small personal story, which will tell you that we all have it in us. When on the day that it was an executive MBA program, And the night before I left for it, my mother, who I had, had asked to come and stay with us in the US, she indicated she was a doctor, and she said, she thought that she had she had breast cancer, and she had also been developing some dementia. So she had forgotten to tell me about it for many months. And that was just a shattering moment for me to realize that, my mother was in this situation. And here I am on to another adventure with going to a pretty, intensive MBA program. And is this the right thing to do, etc. But luckily, with the help of my husband, who asked me to take things day by day, I actually decided to continue with my MBA. But I knew that I had to take care of my mother, who was developing some dementia and also had cancer. And so I was working full time, probably 50 hours a week. I was doing my MBA. I was the primary caregiver for my mother, which means I had to take her for all her doctor's visits, her radiotherapy, her operations and things like that. And it all happened in a matter of two years. And it went off in a blur. But what I'd like to share with you is the fact that every one of us have it in us. I don't know how I did it, but I decided to just assume that grit and that resilience, and I took everything day by day by day, and I wasn't afraid. I just kept going. I had the encouragement of my husband, who was just a wonderful man, who let me get through that point. And finally, after 3 years of a struggle, my mother passed away. And that was when I took a breath of, I just realized, okay, now I have to get on with life. I had to move on and figure out what to do. And that's when I joined Mitsubishi in Los Angeles. So I moved all the way from North Carolina to Los Angeles, a complete, huge change for me and my husband. And if you'll notice, I was able to make these transitions. I was a little fearless, maybe a little naive even, and which helps sometimes. And that's what made me go through every transition. And every transition was a step forward. And that's how I made it to this point. And people ask me about, how I survived in this very male-dominated world. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think about men and women, and there wasn't any. I was just focused on what can I do and how can I succeed. I did not waste any energy on whether the men were better, good, or why wasn't I getting it. I just worked the hardest I could, and I gained a good reputation, and I let that move me from place to place to place. And then 2 years ago, I joined RBC in Canada, and I was so delighted to see actually, I find Canada extremely cosmopolitan, very diverse as compared to the US, and it's very heartening. And now in the stage of my career, yes, I've reached probably the pinnacle of my function, which is enterprise architecture. But now my passion is to actually mentor women to achieve their success, their own personal success. And I keep telling them that we have all the qualities, all the qualifications we have already, and it's about applying ourselves and being fearless. So I'll stop at that, Neha.
Oh my God, Meera, it's really heart touching. I almost honestly had tears in my eyes hearing it out, and it is really, really inspirational. I think one takeaway right away I have is that no matter what, first of all, you have to keep going, and at that point in time, you have a choice to make. That how you're going to take your life, whether it's in terms of your career or really living, your life and moving forward. But that decision we make really paves the path for us. So thank you so much. It is really, really amazing to hear you. And we're getting such amazing comments already, and you might be seeing it, but everybody's saying like this is really inspiring. Thank you for showcasing the reality in life and the importance of staying true to oneself. So thank you so much once again for coming here and sharing this with us.
You're welcome, Neha.
Okay, so moving on, I would like to ask Sumita. Sumita, you have vast experience in business and marketing across various industries, and you have worked as an independent consultant for more than 15 plus years. Please share with us your career journey. What were the hurdles that came your way? How did you deal with them, and what lessons you learned? Over to you. Oh, Sunita, we can't hear you. There we go.
Sorry, I think I was muted. So first of all, I want to begin by, recognizing MPP Nina Tangri, or Nina as we call her now on the panel. I've known Nina for many years. One thing I do want to say about Nina, even though I know she said, she kept going and she kept trying. One thing about her that's amazing is what you see is what you get. And this is why she is where she is. She's one of the hardest working individual female politicians that I know. She works really hard, she cares, and she does a lot. And, to keep trying here, you can imagine when you're running in politics, you're out there, right? You expose yourself, you put yourself out there when you're running, and then not to win and not to give up and to keep going. That's a huge, huge thing in itself. So I'm so proud every time I get to say MPP Nina Tangri and that she's here. So yay. Mira, I was very inspired by your story and kind of what you shared. And I know I'm on the tech and mobile industry as well. And I will tell you, I know it's not an easy industry to be in. And one thing I think what you said really well is it wasn't about a man's world. You just did what you had to do, and you did the way you had to do it, and the rest came. And I think that's a really important lesson to know is not to compare, not to see I'm challenging, but doing what I am. So that in itself is very inspiring to hear. Mine is, I've grown up here since I was 13 years old. We moved here. My dad and my dad was a GM in a multinational. So we've lived in Tanzania and Kenya, in Singapore, like Malaysia, Singapore. Like we used to live in Malaysia, go to school in Singapore. And then we moved here because, you get in Africa, what ended up happening is everybody to go to university had to go to UK. And let's just say the generations ahead of us, the kids who were going, suddenly you have freedom and you were having a lot of fun, weren't exactly succeeding in everything they were doing. So my dad said, I'm moving somewhere where I can watch my kids go to university. And I think the choice, and I'm so glad he made it, was Canada. I think it is the best country to grow up in. It is, it's always felt like home. You feel like home from day one because we all belong. That's the most amazing part of this country. And there's not a country that wants you to celebrate your heritage and your culture more than this country. So to me, I'm grateful to have grown up here. Grew up here at 13. You grow up, you go to high school here, university here. I grew up with a dad. I have a sister and a brother, and my dad was very big on, you always have to keep trying. That was his big thing. He said, I want kids who play the game, not sit on the sideline. He goes, I don't care. I don't want you to succeed. It's okay to fail, but play the game. So I grew up in a house where, when you come to the table and you say, oh, I want to do this. And the first time they say, okay, go try it. Second time you come and say, oh, I really want to do this. And my dad would say, now you've said it twice, go do it. That's the way I was raised. And it's okay to have failure because every failure teaches you as you go. And trust me, as a teenager, I put my parents through a lot. You do that here. The best part of my dad growing up was, trust me, and you mess up. But my biggest thing was my dad's lesson would be, okay, did you learn your lesson? You say what you learned, and then he would say chapter closed, which means I'm not going to bring it up again, but now you've learned and now you move on. So you kind of grow up in that way. So I think we've never felt barriers. I've never felt a barrier. For me, it's what's the harm that can happen in asking? That's the way I've always worked in my career as well. And I think, so I started working in a specific company, my first job, when you get out. And again, it was supposed to be a part-time job that went to full-time. Because I think with jobs as well, you can make them what you want. That's the one lesson I've learned. It's what you put in. Trust me, any environment you go on to, any job description you see, 90% of it will evolve if you are a certain way when you get into that role. And that's just how it is. And I know most of us have hired people. It's the same thing. When you look at someone and they come in and they're doing multiple things and they're talented, there's no way their description stays the same. And I think that's the key when you go into at least the corporate environment here or anything. I'll tell you a simple story that I learned, and everything in life has been lessons. And I call them my work angels because they've been amazing people in my life who I've learned from. And each of them has taught me something different. And I've kept those lessons kind of, in a little box. And you apply them every day because they're your tools. And so I'll tell you a simple example. I remember my first job, and this company was building an office right across. And I remember I said, oh, I want to work there. And I remember applying for a job and not getting it and being so disappointed. And then I saw another role 3 months later come up, and I reapplied for a second role. It was a different role. What was so interesting is I got the second role, and when I found out it was in the same team, the first role was entry level, and this was 2 levels above. So imagine if I had gotten the first role, where my destiny would have been. So what that lesson has always stuck to me is when you do something and you don't get it, there's something else happening. It's okay to kind of let it go because you don't know what else is meant to come. And it's hard. It's hard to say that and not feel those emotions when you don't get it. But it was such a big lesson for me because I remember going into that role later and learning that and that first manager of mine was actually one of my closest friends now. So, I learned so much from her because she was one of the kindest, most empathetic managers. So I learned management from her because you work for people. You don't work for companies. For me, my biggest lesson is every time I've done an interview, I look at the person I'm going to report to before I even look at the company, because that's the person that's going to inspire you, at least initially. And then the company, of course, comes with its benefits as well. And then you continue to work. So I remember even in that job, the biggest thing that happened is I remember in the first 7 months, a senior manager in my team quit. I wanted that job. So I went to her and I said, listen, don't give me the title. Don't give me the pay, but let me take the opportunity to show I can do it. And I was acting, as they put acting associate or acting manager. I did the acting. 6 months, you got the role. So the biggest lesson I learned is in the future, when you go through work, if you want a job, you have to show them you want the job. So act the job before you go for the job. Anytime I go for like job reviews or job, profiles, or when you start a new job, I do something called 30, 60, 90 days. I learned that from another director later in life. So my first career was a company called Ingram Micro. I worked there almost 7 years. It was in IT and tech. And even in that 7 years, I did almost every 2 years, I was doing a new job because that's the big thing. It's first year you learn, the second year you apply, right? But third year, if you're not challenged, you figure out something else to do. Because eventually when you're bored, they see it. It shows in your work. So keep pushing yourself to be challenged. What's the worst, right? My biggest thing, like I said, what's the worst? You go up to somebody and say, I want to try this. What is it I need to do to get there? So even when I used to do job reviews, I used to put together a profile where it would say, this is what I'm doing now. Here's where I'd like to be. Tell me what I need to do. When you go in for job reviews, if you come into a manager with such a skill set, you're telling me that person wouldn't notice, they would notice. And what they do is their job then becomes simply to help you get to that bridge. But if they have to coach you to get to that bridge, now they can't do their job, they're doing your job. So you always have to kind of think in your head. And these are all lessons I've learned. I've learned them the hard way, but it's something that you keep applying to go into consulting. So after I was at Ingram, I went into Rogers. And again, when I joined Rogers, they had acquired Sprint. They went to a complete reorganization. People started quitting left, right, and center. And guess what? When you go in, you're not tied to that emotion of quitting because you weren't there 20 years. You put your head down and you just work. What's interesting about that is you don't get caught up in the chaos. If you just keep doing, because it's very easy when large corporations, when change happens, like you get caught up in the chaos. If you kind of keep doing what you have to do and put your head down, sometimes you'll survive that chaos. That's what's really interesting. And what's interesting is when you survive, like I remember at one point, so many layers that quit that myself and 3 colleagues were reporting into the GM of small business at Rogers. And I remember you have to have a one-on-one. And she's like, what are you guys doing? We're like, I don't know. What are we doing? Because the whole company is reorging. And you know what? We said, tell us what you need. And she said, go and take all these sales channels and turn them into small business channels. And we're like, okay, let's go do it. And you figure it out, right? You went and did it. You figured it out. And I remember at that point, the company went through its chaos. And she actually had the opportunity to say, hey, what is it a role you want? Because now we've gone through it. You put in your time. They saw the effort. And right at that time, I had a recruiter call me from RIM, which is now BlackBerry. And I remember, again, it was another thing where you're going through an interview. And I remember it never felt like an interview. That's the big thing, too. If you go into an interview where it turns into a discussion, that's the best kind of job you can go into. I remember by the end of that interview, the director and myself were whiteboarding what are some of the things we can do. And I thought, okay, I'm in trouble because I'm going to have to leave Rogers. Now, what do I do? Because it's so great. And I remember the biggest thing I learned at that time, because you have to remember that was BlackBerry at its peak, right? A global company. I remember I actually went to the GM and said, here's my situation. You're about to do a town hall, talk about the future. And I want you to, this is what the opportunity is for me. What should I do? And she said to me, you'll never find a global company in your backyard in Canada, because it was very hard to find a global headquarter in Toronto to work for. And I'll tell you, I took the opportunity 2 years. What I learned from working at BlackBerry, it was a hyper growth matrix organization. And here's what's fascinating about learning in a company like that is you will never own a singular decision. You always have to make a decision with 50 people giving you input. Everything that you do comes from, socializing your thoughts and making sure everything functions. It's not easy to do that because if you've always been kind of, I just have to run a program, the skill set you learn there is what the industries have become today. I'm sure, Mira, you can acknowledge this too. There's not a job, not a decision you get to make without 10 people giving an input. And what you learn is that's part of what's required, because guess what? If they've socialized, they've given their input, and your plan is now blessed by 10, you won't have any issues. But if you go in like a bull in a china shop and you're about to present, you're going to be in a lot more trouble. And Nina, I know you know this very well, because this is all you have to do is you have to get everybody to buy in to your plan. So these are all skills that, you start to learn and you start to understand. And I think one really important skill I also learned from one of my VPs at one time is he said, never quit a job for the sake of quitting. Quit because there's an opportunity. And he said, trust me when I say this, the grass is never greener. And that's the way I've applied to my career, to consulting. Even if I'm unhappy, am I unhappy because of an individual or truly the job? Right? Because what will happen is if your feet are in two places and you go apply somewhere else, your mind is still at the old place. So you have to really leave and mentally leave a job. And that was a lesson for me on a personal basis. I've applied to everything, that I've done. So when you go into consulting, which I've done for 15 years, every day you're working in 10 different environments. And what you learn as a consultant is you're coming in there to be an asset to them. You're there to enhance someone and to support someone. You're not taking anyone's job away. But when you've worked in matrix organizations, you learn how to adapt in these environments. The other lesson you learn in large corporations is always know the Pandora's box. And I'll tell you what that means. Always know what you can and can't say in a meeting. And this is the big thing I used to teach people at BlackBerry. I said, you're coming to an organization, you don't know who knows who. If somebody's 8 years at BlackBerry, that means they probably knew the CEO. Because remember, that company grew in 8 years. It was not like a hype. So what you learn over the years is know what's the right place to say what you have to. If there's certain things you're unsure, it's better to say, let me check with my, and whoever that applies, versus going and saying something and it turns into a cycle. So these are all just, hopefully they're helpful, but these are things that I've learned and I apply them every day. I'm still learning. I love consulting. And even though every time I go into a consulting gig, they'll say, are you sure you don't want to do full time? For me, I love consulting is because I like my brain doing 4 different things. And what you're doing with that is you're also taking best practices from one area and you're having to offer that to 4 other areas. So that's been my personal journey. I'm still evolving in it. The only thing I will say, and to me, I'll say to everybody, learning is around you. It's happening every day. It's about seeing the opportunities. And second thing is knowing mentors. Like for me, every time I work with a boss, I've considered them a mentor. You've built those relationships and you learn something and take away from them. One of my first things that I learned when I went into consulting, my old boss, who's one of my directors or VPs at Rogers, he said to me, because I said, I'm going into consulting, this is what I'm thinking. Because I didn't just go into consulting. Even that I socialized. I said, what should I do? What is the plan? How do I figure this out? I get people calling me all the time about to go into consulting. What should I do? I said, have work lined up before you say I'm a consultant. Don't just say I'm going to go consulting. You have to have your plan set up. You need to be paying before you go and jump into something. Second is, don't give away your services for free. Trust me, if somebody even has to pay you $1, they will value you very different than somebody who's taking your services for free. Understand your worth over time and experience. But the biggest thing he taught me was, when you go to pitch, he's like, okay, in 2 lines, give me what you're good at. And I remember I couldn't do it. I was like, what do you mean? Here's a paragraph. He's like, no. He says, you have to be able to say in 2 lines. And the other thing he said to me is, you're a brand. You're always going to be a brand. You as an individual, Leha or Nina or myself or Mira, we're a brand. So every time you're out there, no matter what you do, remember you're a brand. So that impression, you're going to leave with that person, right? Either they're going to remember you as somebody that was great to work with and interaction, or you were a pain and you don't want to work with. So that's, just these really interesting lessons. And I thought, what? Hopefully they're helpful to somebody.
Oh my God, Nina, they are amazing. Seriously, I think Mira is nodding her head as well. I think
she's my soul sister.
No, I think this is amazing. 2 things again, like I want to say, First of all, you said one thing that, go figure it out. I think that is so important. Even on our group, we have every other day, we have conversations where, women are coming either from US or from India, or, they're settling here and now they have to restart their careers, or they're trying to find their job in the same area where they were working back home, right? And that's tough. It does take time, and it does take your due diligence and your due homework in order to get that job. I remember when I came to Canada in 2011, I actually met 49 recruiters in person. I said, I'm going to just go and meet. Either they're going to review my resume or say no, or probably say yes. So I just did give it my shot, basically, right? So I think I love what you said. Like, figure it out. Once you know what you want to do, then you'll find a way. And that ties into what Meera also said, that do the right thing. What you want to do, just go that in that direction, and you'll find your way, find your life. So really, really inspiring, Smita. You've touched upon all the corporate world insights, I would say, which is going to be very, very beneficial for so many women who are, in our audience today.
One thing I will say about corporations, and I know Meera can probably attain, and even actually Meena, because she sees it all the time, but I'll tell you something. The biggest thing I will tell you is know your environment and know your company. People say this all the time. How do I know I don't get laid off? Nobody knows when they're going to get laid off. Trust me, nobody is secure. There's no such thing as job security today. But if you're in a job, understand where your company is going. So if you're in a certain role and all the budgets are starting to get cut around you, figure out very quickly to say, okay, this is about to go in this direction. So either I figure out a role in this area, or I'm going to be the person to get out. It's the one thing I see. I've seen it. I can tell you, I left BlackBerry and was a consultant with BlackBerry. I was on site as a consultant the day they laid off their entire marketing department, 2,000 people. And I remember it was such an interesting lesson, because you watch this and you're thinking, they should have seen where the company, you know what I mean? Like, you start to figure out where the company is going. And these are just lessons. But just to say, it's the one word I hear today, especially now post-pandemic. I hear it all the time. What's going to happen? Industries are cutting. They're always going to get cutting. Layoff never stop. It's just there are other industries that are changing. So figure out your skill set, pivot, and see if you can apply it, in a different area. And secondly, never be ashamed to take more courses. Never be ashamed to learn something, or don't be ashamed to say, listen, can I just learn from you or from your area? Something to add.
Absolutely.
Neha, add something very quickly to that.
Yes.
I think when you start with a new company, the first thing you should do is understand the organizational chart. Who are you? Where in the company do you sit? Who are your peer groups? Who are your managers' peer groups? What is their reporting chain up and down? And I learned this when I was doing some consulting, because you really need to understand how to get. And once you understand the organization, then you start reaching out and even cold calling people, or setting up an appointment to meet them. Find out connectors in various groups who can help you. And once you have that connection and that network, then you can go and ask things of those people. For example, where can I find this information, or who is an expert in this area? And that helps you. But at the same time, you need to provide the favor back too. So sometimes, even unsolicited, I will make a connection for somebody in my network, and that helps, they feel good about it, and then they return the favor, so to speak. And it's not a manipulative way. It's just that's the way we work in a big corporate enterprise. So that's something I just wanted to share.
Absolutely.
Know your organization.
Absolutely, really, really amazing. And actually, this is what everybody, at least in our audience, I can say, is looking for. These are insider, I'll say insider tips now. We are looking for, because we don't get to hear all of this just in general when we're having conversations, or we read books and we get this type of knowledge. No, right? So this is your experience that you're sharing, and it is so amazing to hear from all of you. Honestly, I am so charged up right now. And so many comments are pouring for all three of you. It's very inspirational. Act as you want to be. Knowing your organization is very important. So many of them, you're awesome. So many comments are pouring out for you all. So thank you again. for sharing this, your journey, your experience, your learnings with us. I think it's really, really helpful. And with that, I'll move on to our next topic of conversation. And I would like to ask you one question, all of you actually. So it is actually very phenomenal that as women, we play so many roles in same time in our life, be it as a career woman, an entrepreneur, a mother, a daughter, or a wife. I wish to ask you today, what does success mean to you? How do you define success? Mira, would you like to start?
Sure. Success to me when I was early in my career was, profession. And I thought that, that was a very important thing to achieve, so, increase promotions and, get to do better work and, manage people, this, that, the other. And I felt I was so wrong. I was so wrong. Success to me today is have I been am I a better person every day? And what is the influence I have in my community, whether it's at work or at home, right, with my relatives and family and friends. I want to be remembered for somebody who brought joy into other people's life. And that's what I see success, career success, and success is not something that other things can do to you. It's what you feel inside, so promotions and your children's success, it's not, all those things can definitely get you happiness, but happiness is what you generate inside, right?
Yes.
So find who your true value is, be true to yourself, and figure out how to be happy. And happiness, I'm telling you, is not with material anythings, right? Not career success, not marriage success, not children's success, nothing. It's truly internal. And the happier you are, the more successful you will be, because you will bring joy to other people and people will want to work with you, and then you will achieve success. So that's my
Very good.
Very, very well said, Mira. Sumita, how about you?
So I think similar to Mira, in the start of your career, you're always thinking, like for me, a personal success is always challenging myself. That's been one of my things. It's almost like I challenge myself. I'm almost at competition with myself more than I am with everybody else around. And I love, because for me, coming out of it is, either I didn't quit and I worked myself through something, or secondly, I challenged myself to a completely different industry. And did I learn it or not? Did I walk away? I mean, having learned the political industry or government or, so many other industries over careers that, you've done. I'm not been afraid to. You are initially afraid to, but when you jump in and you come out of it. So that challenge, a personal challenge, was for me how I measure success. I think success varies in what your life has to mean to you, right? For some people, success for me, and learning from other women now is also so many women who have taken on a brand new career. Some women who've never worked have been like a housewife and suddenly started a small business and it's flourishing. So success has to be a measure that matters to you. But for me, success evolved. And I'll tell you, 10 years ago, actually now almost 11, my dad passed away. And I remember somebody at my dad's funeral said something that always has stayed with me, and it changed my trajectory after that, was, they said, when you leave, all you are is a conversation. You as a person are gone. So either they have a good conversation about you, that you made an impact and you did something good. No one's going to say you were a great business person. They're either going to say you were a good person or you were not a good person. And I remember my dad reminded me this years ago when my brother just graduated and he'd taken over, his business, and they were, typical like young to old way of thinking. My dad had his way and his style, and they were arguing. My brother's like, Dad, you have to be, doing more of this and more of that, and pushing, and I remember somebody hadn't paid their invoice, and my brother was like, why didn't they pay their invoice? And I remember my dad said, he said, son, when I leave, no one's going to remember if I was a good businessman. They'll remember if I made an impact to them in that one moment. So these things stayed with me after. And I think in the last, you evolve as a person. And so even as you're working, you remember, like, am I affecting people every day? Every day you're affecting people. That's why, for example, like in consulting, I have certain clients I work with for 7+ years. They're your friends. You've known them. I have one client I've consulted for where literally the entire company's been reorged in 7 years, but you as a consultant are still plugging away, and they laugh about it because what do? You're a consultant, so you're not on the radar, but you still keep. But what you realize is you make friends, over the years, and the industry grows. So whether it's in career, whether it's in personal life, now even with Panorama, in the last 2 years, it's not about this is an organization. It's about what impact are we making? And secondly, for me, it matters more of the people that are working on the organization. That's the impact we're having on each other, right? So that's kind of how for me, that's how I function in life. It's the impact and the impression you leave with people every day. And secondly, if somebody needs help, it's never too hard to connect. Like you were saying, Mira, connecting somebody to somebody. Nina is an amazing person for me. Like I say, all these different angels. Anytime I've ever needed something, she's been there. And, more than anything, that's what matters, right? You're there for each other. You make that impact. And really success comes from that, right? Like, yes, I agree. A title is beautiful to have. Like, even Panorama, like I'm not an individual. There's an entire board and an entire volunteer that does this. You wouldn't do this in a silo. So you realize to me, that's success. Did people get happy? Did they get something out of this experience? Did we give back to somebody? The rest, I mean, that's just life. It's going to keep evolving.
Absolutely. Rightly said. Nina, how do you define success?
Well, I think Meera and Sumita have really covered a lot of things, but and I totally 100% agree with everything they're saying. But to me, I think success is also just constantly challenging yourself and knowing that success isn't one thing to strive for. It's many, many things. Success can be, I think Meera touched on a lot of it. It's knowing that your children are safe, they're healthy, they're studying, they're doing what they should be doing throughout school and beyond. It's challenging yourself to say, okay, this week I need to accomplish X, Y, Z, but next month even more, and just constantly challenging yourself and saying, I strive for something more. I think the one thing that keeps us going each and every day is hope. Right. So, and more so now throughout this pandemic, as where we've seen so many people that are at home, they've not left their homes, many people at all in almost a year. And I'm in essential work. I'm out every day almost, except for the very first few weeks of the pandemic. I've been out constantly. So and my whole family pretty much is an essential worker. Therefore, our lives haven't changed that much. But we know so many people around us that have, especially seniors, who, whether it's going to the mandir, gurdwara, mosque, temple, wherever it may be, sometimes that's their only social life that they have, or whether it's just getting to work or just going elsewhere, that's all they have, right? So working with so many of those people, we've been so blessed that many people, many businesses, many community organizations have come to us and asked us to help them reach out and give donations of food, clothing, help, taking them to the doctor, taking them to a clinic, and people have really stepped up. To me, that is a massive, massive success throughout COVID, where as a humanity, we've really been there for each other. And I think that is something that we really have to celebrate, because we live in such a fantastic country where human life has a real meaning. And I say that I'm not disrespecting any other country, but here each and every person's life means something to someone or everyone, and to be able to strive to make sure that everybody's well looked after. I have a couple of buildings out here, and there's a group called Saidam. Together we put through these huge boxes of food, and so with that and milk, we went to every single unit in the buildings and hand delivered it to them, and to see their face light up, it really, that to me is success, because it's something that your little part in just going there and and for them to just see somebody, to see a human being is a big deal, because like I said, they've been cooped up in their homes for so long. And I think, like I said, you just constantly have to understand, I think as women, it's just who we are. A male can go and do that one thing of their job, come home, sit down and do nothing else. We have to get up, get our kids ready for school, get out, do our own jobs, perform well at that job, whatever it may be. That in itself is a challenge. Leave that job and make our way home, sometimes in long commutes, come home, God knows what's for dinner tonight. Do we cook? Do we order out? Do we go out? What do we do? All of that, and then cleaning up after that, and that's the end of the day, and tomorrow we'll do it all over again. So it's, this is who we are. We're just amazing people, and I'm not saying that about me, but all of the wonderful women around that we see do all these great things together. We all are successes, whether you work outside the home, whether you're at home. I've been around lots of people who have constantly told people who go out to work that they neglect their children. And I've been around people who have said women who stay at home, yeah, they don't contribute to society. And I'm like, why can't we respect both? Right?
Yeah.
Everybody does what's right for them and their family. And
Yeah.
we have to respect each and every person for the choice that they make. Some people don't have a choice. They have to work or they have to stay at home with their kids. They're making that right choice for their individual, for themselves, for their family. And we always, always have to respect other people's opinions. And my motto is live and let live. The way that I get by each and every day is that everybody has an opinion and everybody is right to that opinion. And just because my opinion might be different from yours, it doesn't mean I'm wrong or you're wrong.
Yep.
It's just that we can differ from those opinions and we should respect it. And so I think many of the successes that I've seen in my life is that people who are able to do that, you know what, in my world of politics, it's extremely challenging and will never please everybody. It's impossible, but you have to try and find that right balance. Right now, we've had to close so much down. Our businesses have closed down, but we have to worry about the health and safety of everyone.
Yeah.
So how do you find that right balance? And that balance that we choose as a government, maybe only 10% agree with it, because some people would rather more be closed down and more be open. And it's been devastating, like I said, watching some of our businesses close, but they've been wonderful in understanding. I have to say, I did an event with the Business Improvement Association in my area, and they said, they're very optimistic that now some of them are able to open starting on Monday. Some are not, like hair salons, gyms. I can't wait to my gym to open. I need a haircut, but just for the safety of all of our communities, we're waiting a little longer, just a little bit longer. It will open. We will get there. We'll be able to go eat in a restaurant in Peel again soon. And our numbers are coming down, and they will. And we ask for everyone's patience. And like I said, that patience, because we've been able to keep our numbers down now in the long-term care, we're not seeing anyone passing away. So thank you for being able to be patient throughout this time. And I'm really optimistic now that everything will be open, and the success will be that we haven't gone through what some countries have gone through with the massive, massive deaths that we've seen. The one thing that I really, really, really hurts me is when I hear people say, and I've heard this a lot, is those people would have died anyway. I'm sorry, but they are somebody's mother, father, sister, brother, child. That's somebody, they are someone that meant a lot to somebody else or to a whole family or community. So we should never take it for granted just because somebody's old, just because they're in a long-term care, just because they've got dementia, just because whatever it may be, that it's okay for them to die. It never is. And as a society, it's our responsibility to help protect them as best we can.
Absolutely. Really amazing. Thank you so much, Nina, for sharing all of that. I'm honestly so amazed. This is gold to me, gold, silver, platinum, whatever we call it. This is so inspiring. And also, like, through this conversation, we're getting to know the work we do, as a society, and also, especially as women, how three of you have just shared your journey and how you've stepped up and how you've faced some difficult situations in your life, your parents passing away, or making certain hard decisions in life, or rerunning for election. All of those things, they are hard. And being a woman, having a family, Nina, it's amazing you mentioned about you're going to come back home and think about the dinner, and you're going to do some laundry. It just shows that we are all human, whether we are at a VP position, or in politics, or you're just simply a consultant, or or a manager, whatever title you have, you still have a life, you're still human, and you still have people you need to take care of. So that's really, really humbling and really inspirational. I honestly am falling short of words right now. But I will move on, and I have one question for Meera. Meera, research shows that women in general think that if they do good work, their work will be noticed and they will be rewarded and recognized in some way or the other. But in general, does not work like that always. What advice would you give to all the women to be their own advocates, and also in the moments of self-doubt or imposter syndrome? How do you bring yourself back up?
Oh, wow. Interesting question. I think first, I've touched on this a little bit. You have to develop some fearlessness, and you have to have this core of strength that you need to develop. You cannot be a shrinking violet, especially when you're out there and working, because there's so much competition. There's so many people around you who are all vying for the next position or vying for the next role or whatever it may be. So you must be first, develop a sense of confidence, because the good news, everybody, is that women have immense strengths, immense capabilities, immense emotional intelligence. We just have to recognize it within us, right? So that's the first thing, is understand who you are. Make sure that you're not, yes, you might have moments of self-doubt. You might be like, what am I doing here? I've had that my entire career, but what I've done is sometimes I put my ego at the door and I say, I'm going to learn, and whatever it takes to learn, I'm going to put that effort in. And slowly over time, you don't realize that you're not, when you go to a job and are learning something new, you're also bringing your inherent skills into it, right? And that's what you have to bring both together, right? And not feel underconfident that you don't know the material or whatever. And as far as promotion, one thing I think women should really probably improve is our communication skills, and our presentation skills, and our don't those are very important characteristics that we want to upskill ourselves from a functional perspective, from a technical perspective, but that's not sufficient. You really have to learn how to communicate. So sometimes there are many forums that you can join where you can learn about public speaking, or you can join a course in your company if they offer that. But I always say that some ways to really learn how to communicate is even volunteering and activism. You're out there inspiring people. You're communicating. It's informal. It's not a scary place to be. This is where you can practice your communication skills, right? So a little bit of fearlessness, some communication skills, and never always present your material with the best possible quality, right? You should always have a bow on everything that you present. I think it's very important. People do, you don't have spelling mistakes in your in your content, or if you're creating a presentation, it should look professional, and you learn how to succinctly, don't read from a slide of bullets and bullets. Tell the story. That's what I try to do, is always tell a story, and people will engage when you tell a story. And when you speak, have meaningful pauses. Allow people to understand and take a moment to reflect on what you say. And it's also a very good, technique to bring attention back to a very boring speech. When you're silent, somebody will say, oh, she forgot to say something or something. They turn their attention back to you, right? So those presentation skills, those communication skills are always important. Have a pitch, elevator pitch. It should be, no longer than 2 minutes, as to who you are and what you're doing. And expect that there will be the CEO who's coming down with you in an elevator, and you don't want to be just like, shocked and in a bit of awe. And the last thing is, I think if you're intimidated by, and Indian Asian culture is very, very intimidated by positions of power, right? So when I'm presenting, and I even now in my career, I go to certain forums, some executive OC level forums, operating committee forums, or the board or whatever, and I'm presenting there, and it's very intimidating, right? But how do you get over it? I imagine all my audience in their underpants. and it just provides a little bit of relief. And you think they're all human. I mean, we all go back, including the CEO, probably goes back and wipes the dishes while his wife is, washing, right? Everybody does it. So we're all human. We have all these fantastic positions, but that's not important. The point is, relate to people at a human level. Remember not to get intimidated. Have your pitch, have your content down pat, and always be ready to present at whatever forum. If it's 5 minutes, 30 minutes, or 1 hour, have enough material ready, always to give your pitch. And that's what I basically would recommend.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, Meera. Sumita, I would like to ask you the next question. You are so involved in the community leadership. and successfully leading a vibrant and popular NGO, Panorama India. And this year, under your amazing leadership, you took it completely digital and global. It's phenomenal. I have seen it myself. Please share with us, how did you get involved and what really motivates you to give so much of your time to the community?
So I think the word leadership always scares me because I feel like I'm still learning in so many ways, and there are much more amazing women who've been giving their time for a lot longer. But I will say this much: for me, community service began at home. My mom's a big inspiration for that. It's I think that kindness, when it begins at home and you've been taught early, the giving back. Growing up, our home was always the hub where everybody landed. When we moved to Canada, our home was where everybody, at one point did three families, coming in. But that was the home I've grown up in. It begins at home. The generosity spirit begins at home. So for me, giving back to the community, it's not about giving back. It's about you also feeling like you're doing something, right? That's really what it is. So Panorama is something that I'm very proud of. I got introduced to it. I think it's almost not going in 5 years. The past chair actually was an amazing woman as well, who led the organization and actually brought me into it. And I came on as a director, and then I became vice chair. And then in the last year, when I became chair, and we had just finished Republic Day, COVID hit. And you can understand, Panorama India was known. So it's kind of where a lot of people, when they want to know about India or they're newcomers, they go to Panorama because they feel like they're connected. Our role was Republic Day and India Day. But when COVID hit, everybody started to say to give back and what are we doing for the community? And the biggest realization we realized was we have a platform. And there are artists who are not working anymore. There are seniors who are sitting at home that don't have, they're not enjoying it. There's no joy. Everybody, remember, we all got kind of locked in. And that's kind of where we evolved ourselves as an organization. And we said, if nothing else through this time, let's become the platform where people can come and showcase their talent. More than anything, if an artist gets discovered during this time for something that they got to do here and someone else discovers them, maybe they'll get work out of it. Whatever it is, we became the place that let's think of giving back. And then it started to become an ongoing. So we started a show called Namaste Live, which was like really a monthly show where we showcased artists. Our board is made up of amazing, talented people who, by the way, this entire organization is volunteer. Nobody is in it for titles or ranks or business networking. It's truly an organization where you actually give your time to give back. And that's what's nice. When you have people like that, everybody on this board rolls up their sleeves and works. And that makes a big impact. We're friends. I call it a Panorama family because when you're volunteering, if it feels like home, they'll give so much more of their time and they love it. So we've built this network of a family. Everybody relies on each other. We have amazing volunteers. So many of them are newcomers. Do you know that in the last year, so many of them came in the last year and a half, they connected to us and said, I want to volunteer. We're happy to take that. And now they're thriving. Some of them have become managers. Some of them are growing. Some of them are running the social media now. So you watch this growth, but people have a place to connect. It evolved to India Day, where it became like 17 hours of programming, digital again. But our biggest role was all the content that you see with Panorama is the community's contact. It is not our contact. Panorama is not my organization. It's not even our board's organization. It's the community's organization. It's every single state that feels this is their celebration of India. We celebrate culture. We celebrate heritage. It's a reminder of what you missed back home. And what we love, I love when the volunteers or people who've come in the last year and a half, because they're bringing us fresh perspective of sometimes things that are happening. Some of the creative ideas of kind of where, festivals are changing here, but festivals in India are evolving, right? I think sometimes here we're still more stuck in a little bit of a way, whereas they're kind of shooting off into so many amazing things. So we get that fresh idea, that fresh thinking in with us. So really India Day became about how do we showcase the maximum talent? We give the maximum platform. We had over 100 artists that performed. Then Republic Day came. The biggest thing for us out of Republic Day was seniors. We did first time ever a place where seniors celebrated, they submitted programming. The community comes together. And again, it's 100+ artists that do it. Imagine the work. Everybody on this board has a full-time job. And on top of that, they're doing this till like midnight, 1 a.m. And the only reason we did it is because our job is people have created this beautiful content. How do we show it in the most beautiful way? And how do we make it reach the maximum number of people? So that's how we evolved. For us, it wasn't about building our Facebook reach, or, that's what everybody became during the pandemic. Oh, I got to grow my Facebook. For us, when we did our live streams for both events, we had 27 channels live streaming. That programming was coming off their TVs. Why? Because when a senior is watching, they're not going to watch on our Facebook. They're going to watch on their TV. So the thing for us was, how do we get the content to everybody? So really for us, Panorama has been, and I continue saying, it's a family that keeps growing. The family is the community organizations. The family is all, like Nina is part of our family. And whenever we need something, all the leaders, the community leaders that come together to help us make it happen. That's Panorama India family. It's everyone's organization. And I think digitally we're evolving even more. And it's not happening in a silo. I will tell you, it's the amazing women as we celebrate International Women's Day. I will tell you, this board has a lot of amazing women that work behind the scenes. In fact, one of them is working behind your scenes, who's also been an instrumental part of our organization. But we continue to grow because of the amazing people that are giving their time. So for me, I'm blessed because all you can do as a chair is kind of make an environment that allows everyone else to flourish. That's really what it is. I'm not an expert, so I surround myself by experts. That's the way I work in life. I don't want to be 10 different expertise. What I'd rather have is amazing 10 different people who have that expertise and can shine. So this board is full of it. And I'm glad that, I hope, listen, I want to put that out there, by the way, because you have a huge, if you are in, you want to give your time, we're happy. We love volunteering time. We love people who come and give it. You give what you want. But more than anything, you become part of something. And I hope that, that's really what we offer to everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. And my next question is for Nina. Nina, you are known for a tireless service to the community. And getting the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award is just so extraordinary and exceptional. With your current role as an MPP and your extensive involvement in the community work, how do you balance between your work, passion, and family? How do you manage your time, and what keeps you going? And by the way, this is one of the most popular questions.
So no, Neha, it's critical that, and I'm not alone. Time management, I think, is something that we as women, we plan our days, we plan our weeks, we plan our months. We work very hard to try and make sure we can do everything, and we do. And I think that's what is critical. My calendar on my phone is sort of my lifeline, I think, just to make sure I stay on top of all the things I have to do everywhere I need to be. I have some amazing staff as well who go through my calendar just to make sure I'm prepared for all the events. And I have Saroj, who's actually watching today from my office, and she's one of the people who helps keep me on target for all the things that I'm doing throughout my day. But like I said, it's pretty much just understanding that you want to get so many things done. So managing that time, I think, is so critical. To me, a big part of my life is the volunteer work that I do, the charity work that I do, not because it's satisfying, but because it makes such a difference in somebody else's life. It could be a small gesture that I do. It could be something very big, but it makes such an impact on somebody else's life that that in and of itself is my biggest success. Politics is excellent because you have the power to make change for everybody, but the ability to volunteer, to do something where you make that one person's life a little bit different, positively, we hope, that in and of itself is just critical. So some of the things that we've been doing is we make sure that we have a school in my husband's village in India that we named after my mother-in-law, and so that, it's a DAV school for those of you who are watching. So yeah, they have the DAV management and kids pay to go, but there's a lot of kids in our village that can't afford to go, but they're smart kids and they really want to get ahead. So we sponsor those children to go so that they can have that great education. A lot of those kids now, because it's been up and running for 25 years now, they're in Canada. So they've grown up, they've come to Canada, they're in the working world, they've got their PR. And it's just exciting to watch those kids grow up and be so successful. That to me has been one of the most wonderful things we've done. And in addition to that, now in that village, I remember somebody that worked at the school, he fell, and he had broken quite a few bones. And so what we did, we were taking him, we had a driver pick him up, take him to some physiotherapy in a nearby city. So from our village, which is in District Jalandhar, he would drive him to Ludhiana to the city to get some physiotherapy. So he was doing this constantly. And we said, good God, why don't we have some kind of rehab or something in the village? We should have something like that. So my husband's family and his heritage property, we had a few shops. So what we've done is we've taken 3 or 4 of those shops now that was on the front, and we've converted that into a physio rehab facility. So it was a large project. We put a lot of money into it so that the villagers now have somewhere local that they can go, and it's been working so well. We hired a physiotherapist. She's wonderful. She's actually from the village too, so it was great. She's been, I met with her a few times when I was there. This time last year, we haven't been anywhere since, but this time last year we were there. We did our opening. We had a lot of people, community leaders, politicians, you name it, came to cut the ribbon with us. And they're saying, we hope that people watch this and they start opening them up in lots of villages, and so that they can also benefit. We have people who have a stroke, and for them to be able to function again, they need lots of rehab. So that was something we really wanted to help them with. And we've, the stories that come back of the people whose lives it changed, that is a massive inspiration for us. So, we're thinking about that, and we want to grow it now. We want to make it into do some lab facilities, some other things for the health and wellness of those people. It's a very large village that my husband is from, and it's, there's a lot of people there, and they always have to go to the city to get any kind of treatment. So that to me was massive for us to be able to do for those people. And when I go away to India too, that time management is critical as well. So, throughout the night, sometimes you're conversing with people here in Canada, in the political world or elsewhere, because, that has to continue even though you're abroad. And so that time management is critical. One thing that's really important that I'm really bad at is getting enough sleep. I don't sleep well. I don't sleep much. I don't sleep enough, that's for sure. So somewhere incorporating all of the other things that I do, I need to try and relax a little more. So that's one thing, unfortunately, I'm not very good at. If someone wanted to ask me what helps me to relax, my favorite genre of movie or show is comedy. So to laugh, I think, is to laugh at others in the shows, but to laugh at yourself, I think, is so important. And understanding that when someone's critical of you, they're not necessarily critical of you as a person, that they're critical of what you stand for, perhaps, or the idea or the political party or the community is doing. Not to take it personally. I think that's one thing that keeps you going, is someone may say something to you, but never take things personally, and always understand it is just their opinion. That's not everyone's opinion. We spoke about earlier, one thing when I came to Canada, and the one unfortunate thing is when I used to attend a funeral, and it was the Meadowvale crematorium on Second Line. It was always there. And, 2, 3, 4 years after being here, I used to think, yeah, when I die, I'll be here, but I wonder who will come. Like, who am I? What have I achieved that people will say, I want to go to her funeral because she inspired me, or she did something positive, or what it was. And I think that was one of the first things that pushed me into thinking, I have to do something. I have to achieve something in life that one day when I am gone, that they will remember me for the positive things that I've done, that I did make a difference in people's life, a positive difference in people's life. But that was, I think, one of the big things when I literally was at a funeral, and I said, oh my God, one day I'm going to be here. Maybe there'll be 10 people, maybe there'll be hundreds of people, and they can't get in. They'll be bursting at the seams. Obviously times have changed. There's more places that have opened now, much bigger. But the one thing about being in the community lodge, you get to meet so many people, so many wonderful people. And, you've attended either their funeral of a family member. And being there for them at that critical time, I think, is more important than being there for other times, because that's when, whether you say something at the funeral, whether you're just there, or, whether you've had a chance to talk to them and some others that are attending, I think that is a time when people really thank and honor and really know that you're there for them. And throughout COVID, it's been the most horrible time to either have to be in hospital, to have family member pass away. It really is. And to be someone in hospital that can't see your family, that is just horrid. And we went through that with my brother-in-law. He had cancer, and it was his last couple of weeks. We brought him home. We had palliative care at home. But that way the family could be with him for those last couple of weeks, as opposed to FaceTime on an iPad in the hospital. The nurses were phenomenal and fantastic in doing this, but it was great that we were just able to be with him for those last couple of weeks last year. So, it's time management is always going to be there. It's never going to be enough. We always want to do more. We want to do more throughout the day. It's 24 hours. Somewhere you've got to sleep in there. But yeah, I think my brain just keeps going in the middle of the night, and fortunately or unfortunately, some of the best ideas come up when you wake up in the middle of the night. So I try, when I wake up, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got to do this today, and I've got to remember to do that. And I try and write it down as soon as I wake up. But don't knock yourself if you're not able to do perfect time management. No one's perfect, and it's always a work in progress. And I think it's something that we can all continue to learn from each other and strive for. And the best thing I think we can do, and is I'm learning so much from Meera and Sumita and yourself here today, and reading some of the things and the comments, is that we can learn from each other. And I've learned so much from all of you today, and how you do things, and maybe I could adopt some of those things for myself and learn. I think we always need to understand we're always a work in progress. So, always find ways to do things a little differently.
Thank you so much. This is so inspiring. And actually, you reminded me of my dad as well. And I lost him 3 years ago as well to cardiac arrest. And I think what I'm doing, I owe it to him. I have always seen him being there for people, no matter what they're doing, who they are, either kids, even within our family, youngest person or the oldest person. I've seen him loving them, being super kind to them, and being a great listener. And when he passed away, the kind of messages we got from people, we had no idea, like he even knew, or we even knew. It was so humbling. So I feel that my inspiration to do little bit what I'm trying to do here is definitely my dad, and truly reminded me of him, Nina, right now. But thank you so much. I think that's really great piece of advice, and I'm loving the fact that how you all are sharing the human element to it. Like you said, okay, I don't get enough sleep. It's so relatable, right? Or all these. Yes, absolutely. This is so relatable, right? And yes, we have some people have titles, some are trying to get to a place, find a job. You're taking care of kids. All of that is there, but at the end, we are still human. So thank you for sharing that. I do have a question for Nina, and I'll just take the opportunity to ask you. One of our group member, Jyoti, she's asking, what would you suggest us for community involvement, and how can we get involved in the community? Maybe you can take this one.
Yeah, there's so many ways that we can all get involved more in the community. And Sumita is one example, and the Panorama India, it's just an amazing festivals that they do provide throughout the year. And it's a great opportunity to learn about different parts of India, or just learn about yourself. I didn't grow up in India. So for me, what I see at Panorama throughout the events that they do is, yeah, I know a lot about Punjab because that's where we always go. But the other parts of India are just so vibrant and so wonderful to understand and learn, and the costumes and things like that. But, like I said, the work that we did throughout COVID with Saidam, I never knew who they were before COVID. That is an amazing group of people that have just day and night are out there volunteering and donating and giving. They just dropped off at my office this week bags of PPE kits to give to these seniors. So they'll have masks, gloves, sanitizer, and things. They're just little kits we can go that make a little bit of difference in the lives of each of those people we're going to give them to. So that's another great group. There are so many of them out there. There are breakfast clubs that will be opening again once, kids are fully back in school and things like that. I mean, even, I have volunteers that help me go and deliver a lot of these things that we go out to. I'm available if anybody wants to say, some of the local restaurants, they say, we want to prepare food for XYZ group. And I'm out there with them to go and drop them off because, the more hands we have, the more people we can reach and, the quicker it happens. So each and every community group, there's so many. One thing that I've done a lot of work with is the seniors groups. So we have a lot of South Asian, especially. A great friend of mine, Nina Verma, she runs Shub Helping Hands, and they've been absolutely fantastic. So if you don't even have to be a senior, to be honest with you, the things that they do meditation, they do yoga, they do health and wellness, they've had many physicians come in and talk about their specialty and how they can learn from how to recognize a heart attack, a stroke, how to, simple exercises that can make a difference in your movement. So she does absolutely wonderful work. She's she's been a huge inspiration for me as well. So, if you're, like I said, you're supposed to be a senior, but you really don't have to learn from the great work that she's doing. But like I said, there's so many great community groups. Reach out to our office. We're available anytime. Our office is fully open. And Saroj, who, as I said, is watching today, she answers the phones here, and she can certainly guide you based on what it is that you're interested in. Everyone has different interests. But take a moment to try different things too. So if your interest is health and wellness, do that, but maybe try something a little different. Maybe try the cultural side of things. It's the one thing the great thing that, one best parts about my job is that you get invited to so many different communities from all over the world, and you see their native languages, their native dress, their native cultures, how they do things differently. The problem I have sometimes is I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not able to eat at a lot of these events. So, and I'm vegetarian by choice. It's something I did later on in my life it was just a conscious decision I make. I don't push it on anyone. Like I said, my motto is live and let live. So, that to me, but it's so wonderful to get out and see all these great organizations. But always, there's so many great groups. I mean, your organization, what you're doing here today and bringing all these women together constantly throughout the year, I think is a great way for people to be inspired and to learn other things that you're doing, whether it's, promoting someone's business, especially throughout COVID, it's been so hard, or promoting health and wellness and other things. I think it's just so much. There's so many organizations that everyone can reach out to that do great, amazing work. And the one thing that our governments continue to do throughout COVID is, even though festivals didn't happen, we normally gave grants for many, many festivals. We continue to give them the grants so that they could still do those online, so that people could still connect. Because the worst thing that could be happen is the social loneliness that we've seen people go through right now. So the more people can stay connected, as we are today, I think is what's really critical and important.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Nina. Actually, I recently, as our group, Indian Women's Circle, we recently started something called Indian Women's Circle Huddles. And the concept of huddle is, so generally in a basketball game or a soccer game, the team huddles in between the game to re-strategize, to win the game, right? And so we thought, okay, why don't we apply that concept and have certain regular topics, discussion on certain regular topics, and invite a guest speaker from our own group. So we've been doing such sessions where someone came and talked about, taking care of your health, and someone was talking about how to be productive work from home mom. And then we were talking about art of positive living and all of those different topics. So something that we've recently started as well. So just so that we are connected, we have a place to talk to each other, to see each other's faces, and also, take back some inspiration with us. So thank you for sharing all of that. And now let's have some fun. It's been amazing, amazing to hear from all of you. You all are really powerhouses, seriously. But we would like to know you as a person. So we're going to do a quick, fun, rapid fire round. I will have 6 questions. And the way it's going to work is I will ask one question and all 3 of you have to answer as soon as I take your name. Okay, so it'll be fast, but it'll be fun, I promise. So, ready? Your all-time favorite movie, Nina.
The 10 Commandments.
Ooh, Mira.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Nice one. Sumita. Oh, you're on mute. There we go. Say it again, please.
Actually, I will be honest, there's not one specific movie, but To Kill a Mockingbird was one of my favorites growing through high school.
Great choice.
We're soul sisters.
A favorite pastime or hobby, Nina?
Oh God. Ooh.
Something like
Watching movies. I just love to watch.
Mira, how about you?
Oh, play with my cats.
Nice. Sumita?
So through before the pandemic, I mean, I used to travel a lot for work. So my favorite used to be just to get to the gym and, just to have that sanity of the gym. But now in the last year, it's truly been Netflix, Amazon, and let me see, I think I've covered all of Netflix at this point, and Amazon. So yes, that's been my favorite, what I call my brain dump pastime.
I'm with you on that. I've binge watched many shows. Okay, a favorite dish you can eat anytime, Nina.
Oh, mac and cheese.
Mira.
Save puri.
Oh, don't remind me, Sumita.
Okay, I hope my trainer is not watching. French fries and gravy.
I'm gonna get caught today.
That is a very Canadian thing. But I cannot have fries without gravy, and I hope she's not watching.
Oh, you're hilarious. Okay, this is a mandatory question we ask to anybody who come on our group. Are you a tea or coffee person, Nina?
Both. All day. Both, yeah.
So we can choose you either ways. Mira, how about you?
Coffee on the weekdays and tea on the weekends.
Sumita, how about you?
I'm a complete espresso cappuccino in the morning, or my brain doesn't function. So
shots. You mean shots? Okay. Share a fun fact about you, Nina.
A fun fact about me is I love to laugh. If you can make me laugh, I just absolutely love to laugh, and I don't do enough of it, unfortunately. So make me laugh.
Okay, I have a great huddle idea, which is the laughter yoga, and you're going to be my special guest. Mira, how about you?
I can actually sleep standing, so I'm very happy to share my methods with you.
Oh my God!
I want to learn that.
I've slept at the airport standing,
Wow!
Wow, that's crazy. Sumita, how about you?
I think the laughing really for me too. I do love to laugh. Yes, same thing as Nina.
Well, I can definitely say that you all are actually such positive and happy people. Like, really, it's contagious. Okay, my last question. What did you want to be when you were a child, Nina?
Astronaut.
Astronaut, that's awesome. Where did you want to go?
I wanted to see the world from outer space, but I would have loved to have gone to the moon.
So cute. Mira, how about you?
I wanted to work for the Taj to be a receptionist, the hotel, because I had a friend, we had some family friends who had a daughter who would wear very glamorous outfits and look so beautiful and everything. So I was very inspired. So when I told my mom I wanted to be that, she just gave me a smack on my head.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Sumita, what about you?
You know what? I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I remember I even went to York thinking I wanted to be a lawyer. And then that first year you realize that 90% of the cases are done in a boardroom and not in a courtroom. And then I realized how much reading was required to do. And that's when I said, okay, thank God for first year in university and you can pick any major and change your plan. So that's where I change my plans.
That's amazing. You know, I wanted to be a teacher. I have worn my mom's sari and her heels and have imitated every single teacher of mine. And the almirah and the back of the door were my blackboard. And I probably taught some imaginary kids and my toys. But I wanted to be a teacher so desperately at that time. Well, I think this was really fun and really amazing to know just that personal side of you, in spite of you being at such great positions and, you know, doing such amazing work. Such an honor, honestly, just to be in this conversation with you and to have you and, you know, hearing your real, you know, hearing the wisdom that you've gained over your years of life and giving and passing that to us. Honestly, it really means a lot to us. So thank you. And I would like to just open the floor for some Q&A. We have so many questions that that our group members have submitted. I've tried to cover a couple of them in our conversations already, but we have a few more. So I'm going to just check the comments and see the question. And anyone who's watching, if you would like to ask a question, you can also post right now. So I see one question. There's one question. In your entire career journey, is there something you would have done differently? And what advice would you give to your younger self? Do you want to say?
You know how often you do think about that? If you think, you know how they say hindsight 2020? And you do think, you're like, if I knew everything I knew now, but I could go back to, there's always that one age, right? That one age where you made some dumb, I think I would, you know, one thing you know, the one thing you realize is, and my dad used to say this is, you know, don't chase your wants, chase your needs. And it's one of those things, you know, because the shiny object always looks really nice. And, you know, this women as a general, we have an ability or a thing to do where we put people on pedestals very quickly because suddenly they're, you know, they've done something small or you've seen them do something. The danger with that is, you know, that the danger with that is you don't see the bad side of it sometimes. And you keep giving in and you know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to know kind of when to walk away from things as well. And so I think that's something I wish now that you can partake where it's great to chase. I agree. Keep fighting, chasing. But the biggest lesson now you learn is also know when to walk away. Because not everything is great and you have to kind of figure that out. So over time, like now you know, right? You have radar, your radar goes up and you're like, okay, I'm not doing this, see you later. But it would have been nice to know some of that, you know, years ago.
Absolutely. Thank you for answering that. We have another question. What is it about your work approach that sets you apart from your colleagues and helped you climb the ladder faster than the others? Looking for some practical advice. For example, one time I was watching Chanda Kocher's interview and she gave a very practical example that whenever she takes up a task, she tries to do differently or approach it differently that it has been done before. Maybe Nina, would you like to take that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I think the one thing that puts me a little different to some others is that I utilize my colleagues, the work that I do with them. I don't try to overstep anyone. I don't try to put another colleague, whether even from the opposition, I won't put them down to make myself look better. So I think praising your colleagues and talking about the great work your colleagues do, talking about, you know, that, you know, we're on a panel of, you know, other amazing women here today, more accomplished than myself. And to me, that's a great learning experience. So I learn from my colleagues. And I think the fact that I praise them, that I think the great work that they do, I think that gets recognized and that sort of puts me ahead of some of the others. Because, I mean, this is a dog-eat-dog world politics. It really is. And people say, you know, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to jump forward. It doesn't matter who, you know. I never believed in that you have to stand on people to get to the top. It should never be that way. And I believe I'd rather never get there or get there later, but be kind on the way up, because I think that goes so far. And you know, sometimes people say to me, they say, do you know, so-and-so did this and it doesn't look good. And you know what, I think you could really, you know, benefit from that. And I'll be like, no, why would I want to benefit from something that somebody else, it would hurt them. So, you know, I've stepped away from any kind of, you know, conflict in that respect. And I think that's what's probably got me further ahead than many of my other colleagues in government or outside of government. So respecting everybody that you work with, everyone that's around. And I think that people recognize that and appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Very rightly said. Okay, we'll take one more question, and just, you know, being cognizant of the time. What is that one people skill or leadership advice, especially for women, you would give or got from someone that stayed with you and works for you in day-to-day interaction with people at Canadian workplace? Meera, would you like to take that one?
Sure. You cut out a little bit, but I think the thing I bring to the table, I think, is I bring a lot of humor and make it fun to work around me, and I sort of inspire people to work with me, so that it's not a harsh environment. It's not a place for, you know, a safe zone. People working around me, they feel very safe, so they tell me the honest truth about how things are going. They tell me their concerns, and I don't react negatively when the work is probably not done as well as it can. I teach them how to fish, right? So I've had many people who have actually followed me through my career. In fact, I just hired somebody who's followed me for 2 jobs, you know, to my current job. So I think they recognize that I'm here to make them successful as much as they make me successful.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I can vouch for how approachable you are. And Neena and Sumita, I have to tell you this. I was looking for some, you know, our third panelist, and I saw Meera's name in RBC, and I was like, just one day, I had to make that decision in one day, and I messaged her and said, can I get 15 minutes of Meera? And it is today. I know it is crazy, but if possible. And she met me and she said yes. And when I spoke to her, I was like, wow, I was literally afraid before reaching out to her. And honestly, same with you, Neena, and same with you, Sumita. You all are, you know, like, these are the qualities that I think inspires us to be, you know, leaders in future. That, you know, being that approachable person, being at that position, like, you've seen it all, and now you're there, and this type of I would say attitude is really, really motivating. I have told this to 10 other people already, that, you know, I was responded back with, and that's such a big thing for any person who's looking to grow within a company or outside environment as well, right? So thank you so much for doing what you all do. It's really, really inspiring, really, really motivating, and I'm sure it's gonna, you know, put, you know, when we say that, you know, the wind beneath our wings, I'm sure that after watching this episode or this video, sometimes when we need that wind, it's gonna get, you know, it's gonna give that to us, and, you know, make us think, yes, we can fly, go ahead with it. So thank you for all the inspiration and taking out your time, coming here, talking to us, being so candid, and answering those fun rapid fire questions as well. I also would like to take this opportunity to thank once again our Consul General, Honorable Mrs. Apurva Srivastava, for sending us such a powerful message. It really means a lot to us. And last but not the least, I want to mention Anuradha Tejpal Grover, who's helped me behind the scenes to moderate this event and make it so seamless for all of us. If I wanted to just pass it on to you, if anyone wants to say anything.
I'll just finish up with that. Thank you, Neha, for putting this together. Recognizing, I know it's International Women's Day tomorrow, but recognizing that you, all of you out there, are amazing women, and to yourself, to your families, to your communities. Each and every one of you has so much to give. You have already. But I do want to thank you for bringing all of us together. And I've learned so much about Sumita, Meera, and yourself today as well. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming months. I'm open and available all the time. So please, any suggestions, comments, criticisms that you have, please, you know, pass them on. And I really look forward to hearing from many of you.
Thank you so much.
I think I'll echo what Nina said as well. I mean, it was so unbelievable to learn from everybody on here. And even like knowing Nina for so long, I still didn't know so much about her. And I think one thing that was very clear, and I think, you said it as well, being approachable should never be something that any of us should think otherwise. The reality in life is what goes up also comes down. You don't know who you'll meet in what circle again. Somebody who could be a boss today could tomorrow be calling you to say, can you help me get into this company? Trust me, I have seen that happen many times. The one thing I will say, and I did see something pop up for Panorama India as well. I know volunteering came up here. We are happy. We're just starting India Day. We're happy if you're looking for some place to volunteer. We have so many different teams, from social media to digital to project management to festival coordinator. We function like an organization. We function like a corporation. So to us, it's an internship that you give. And we do train and we work together, and we want you to get the best. So if you are interested, I saw a question. It's info@panoramaindia.org. You're more than welcome. Reach out. It's, as we call it, Indian Women's Circle. Let's continue that. And the only other thing I will say is, don't be afraid to surround yourself by motivators. And what I mean by that is, we all have different people that inspire us. One person cannot inspire you in everything that you need. There are some people that motivate you when, they kind of kick you when you need to get going. There's some people that are your conscience, when you don't know if it's right or wrong. And that's who the person is you go to. So everyone can't be everything for you. So it's okay to have multiple people you go to for different forms of inspiration. I will say that because I know for me, that was something I learned over time. And I hope it's helpful to someone out there.
Absolutely. It's a great tip that, we have mentors for different areas of your life. So definitely great advice. Meera, sorry, you wanted to say something.
So yes, I echo everything that's been said. And I also think that listen to your inner self. You are your best mentor, right? Listen to your inner self. Be self-aware. I think it's very important. We all have it in us, and we don't have to reach the pinnacles of our careers and things like that to be successful. It comes from inside. Success is happiness. That's what I think. So look for it inside. It's there. Every one of you who's listening, thank you so much for joining us and letting us share our stories, because it's as useful for us as it is for you, hopefully. And I am totally inspired by all three of you. Sumita, Nina, y'all have just wonderful experiences. And Neha, I am completely inspired that you are taking this, you're actually fostering this community with so many people. And it's such a great opportunity, and you're providing so many good things to many people. So thank you for that.
God, that really means a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. Honestly, it's going to stay with me forever. I promise. It's only motivating. I'm super charged up, like I was saying. Thank you so much once again. And from everybody who's part of Indian Women's Circle, I would say once again, thank you for joining us. And it's been an honor to hear you, to have you with us. And I hope we are able to meet one more time, sometime again in future, in some way or the other, and be connected. And just want to say to our audience, if you got inspired and motivated from our SHEroes today, then do share the video with any women or anybody who needs to hear these real stories, real life experiences, and words of wisdom. And if you would like to join our community, then you can always join our Facebook group or page, or even visit our website. And once again, Happy International Women's Day to each and every one of you. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.